English teachers पढ़ाए तो simple लगे everything. Leaderboards and quizzes से
Amazing.
learning हो जाए happening. समझ आएगा तो मजा आएगा.
Vedantu. Learn live online. To attend a free live class, download the app now.
Hello my dear students, this is Sundar Rabindranathan here. Hope all you guys are doing super awesome. Right, so welcome to the part 3 of Know Your Dates, Making of the Global World chapter. Right, so I hope you guys are enjoying a wonderful new year now. Now before I start, I just wanted to introspect, quickly take you back to this Know Your Date series. What are you guys doing with the Know Your Date, the series as you're watching it? I'll tell you what the expectation is for you from my end. I expect all of you, whoever is watching these videos, to create a date summary sheet, say summary sheets of dates and events. As I storytell the entire chapters, every single chapter, obviously I would be taking you through the different years, right? So what I request and what I expect is, as you go through the chapter, as you watch the video, please ensure you note down the date and the event. And if there is a remark that you want to put against it. And at the end of the chapter, you will find you have a date summary sheet for that chapter. And you know what? That's a wonderful resource for you to use when it comes to your revision period. Right, guys? Okay, let us start the Know Your Dates, the Making of the Global World, part 3. Right? So we were speaking till the post First World War, situation, the scenarios that were existing, right, in the last session. Now here, today I'm going to start with something called as the Great Depression. It's called the Great Depression period. Okay, what is this Great Depression? Okay, and it was just a span of 2-3 years, but catastrophic declines happened at every level. So that's why it's called as the Great Depression period. What is it? I will take you through the entire flow and hope you really get benefited out of this. Yes, guys? So, okay, guys, this is one of the optional chapters. I don't want to leave any stone unturned. So we are also taking you through these chapters as part of the Know Your Date series. And we are aware there is an option for you to either take this or the other. Right? Okay. So, what are we going to cover? So we will start with the Great Depression, and then we will move to how it impacted India also. So typically it did not start in India. However, India had a massive impact as a result of this Great Depression. And third, after the war, how the economy was attempted to be rebuilt. There was something called the Bretton Woods institution which was established, a conference that happened. Countries came together. I'll speak about it. Okay, so that is the Bretton Woods. Then the early post-war years. Okay, the early post-war years. What happened after the war? And by the time we were trying to recover again, the other war happened, right? Is it not? Second World War happened. So what happened then? That also we will see. And then decolonization and independence. See, the countries after these two world wars, what happened was even the colonial rulers, right, the massive ones, they themselves could not withstand because a huge loss occurred, huge damages were there which they were not able to handle and manage. So they started leaving all the countries free. So what happened? That's called decolonization, right? So what happened in decolonization also we will see, and all the countries when they were decolonized, obviously they gave independence. So the beginning of the global world, the actual beginning of a global world. So last 2 decades you will find that the scenario has changed upside down, right? So, but the superpower still remains. We will say who are they and what happened. Yeah? Okay. So the Great Depression. You know what? It happened in 1929 till the end of mid-1930, till 1931 to be frank. Okay, so 2.5 years. What happened was there was, you know what, they are using exactly the same word, catastrophic decline. See, I just said it by chance, I didn't even read this. Okay, catastrophic declines were there in production. People did not have jobs, and unemployment was at its peak, and incomes started lowering, and obviously trade was not happening. Not enough trade was happening, in other words. So who were really affected? See, the people who had enough money, the high class as you would call it, they were always comfortable despite what happened. It is the people who, the middle class and the low class, the lower income people who badly got affected as a result of this. And the countries, the regions which were totally involved in agriculture, okay, India was one among them, frankly, and they got really badly affected. How? We will see. Yes, I hope as I take you through, emotionally connect yourself to whatever I am trying to take you through. Okay, what is this depression? Why it happened? What is the main reason? See, suddenly when the war happened, there was so much of production. You remember I was speaking to you in the last session. So much of massive production happened, and suddenly when the war stopped, what happens? Still the production was happening the same way. People were not able to take it. Overproduction was happening, right? Agricultural overproduction happened. That means supply was there, there is no consumption. Buyers were not there to get, to procure this. So second, many countries finance their investment in US. Loans from US, through loans from US. Okay, so US was like superpower, gave loans like anything. Is it not? So I think this was also something which we discussed. And 1928, US overseas loan, it was around $1 billion. Okay. And were they able to recover from that? See here, the lenders overseas who gave the money, they started really panicking. Because financial crisis was there post-war, when the war stopped. Banks were not able to recover the money, and they went bankrupt. It was terrible. US was in deep level of damage there. And the capitalists, people who financed, they stopped all loans in US. And this was the start. It's like, coronavirus, it started spreading to the entire world. Now, so during the Great Depression, between around 1933, actually by the time the Great Depression was over, 4,000 banks were closed. 4,000 banks were closed, and 3 years from, it started in 1929, I think I spoke about this, right? And more than a lakh, that is more than 100,000 companies, 110,000 companies got closed, right? Imagine what would happen if this is the case, because they didn't have money. US had a terrible decline. They were in, they had bad damage, severe damage. It was a superpower, right, by then. There were two superpowers, guys, as a result of these wars. One was US, the other was Soviet Union. And when this happened, the countries which were dependent on US, they had a, unimaginable impact negatively. Alright, what happened to India? Alright, naturally India is a country whose pillar, which stands on the pillars of agriculture. Now we got badly affected. So 50% total decline in both our exports and imports. We did not have money. This is the fact. And remember, all these things happened till 1931. Gandhiji even started civil disobedience movement. Remember? Because everywhere there was chaos as a result of it. 2. Prices of wheat. Wheat was our stronghold till that time. The price of wheat fell by 50%. Imagine the farmers. Suddenly, if they put in so much money, cultivate the crop, and suddenly when the price goes by 50% down, they did not know what to do. Right? Peasants and farmers suffered, and government did not reduce the revenue also. At least some subsidies should go in, right? Nothing. Because even government was not able to. Okay, at the top level for the government to have, they need to have money. Even they did not have. Okay, and peasants, generally even till today, farmers live, or every year they cultivate crops taking debts. They don't break even. We don't often see farmers who break even and take a lot of profits, not at all. Okay, that's the sad story of it, sad part of it. Now, paved way for Gandhiji to launch the civil disobedience movement in 1931. Right? So, Gandhiji said, we will not obey any laws. We will not obey any laws. We will not cooperate, or we will not obey any law. Civil disobedience movement. Exactly when the Gandhi-Irwin Pact was signed. Right? After that. Okay. Rebuilding a world economy. The post-war. Okay. So post-war, what do you call? Some kind of refurbishing has to happen, right? The damage is there. We rectify the damage, repair it, and build the economy. What happened? Second World War, by the time, as I said, by the time the world was recovering, again the Second World War happened between the Axis and the Allied powers, right? Who were the Axis? The Nazi guys, the Germany, Japan, Italy. Alright, Allied powers, Britain, France, you call that USSR, the Soviet Union, and USA. Right? Devastated everything. Second World War, it really spoiled the entire world economy, because it was the industrial world, all top weapons, modern weapons were used. So 60 million people were killed. That is 3% of the world population were gone. How sad, my dear students. So as a result of the world war, these two world wars, I think I already said this, two countries emerged as superpowers. One was the US, the other was the Soviet Union. Right? And yes, that was the communist company, the communist country. And they were really posting threat to the capitalists. Yeah? Till today, do you think they have a great terms? Not at all. Post-war settlement, and what is this Bretton Woods conference? I will speak about it. So post-war, they found that throughout the world, the developing countries had a bad impact. Terrible impact. So there was, a conference which was held at the Bretton Woods. So the main aim of the post-war international economic system was to preserve economic stability. They said there were two problems in the world now. One, there is no money, stable flow of money. Two, there is unemployment everywhere. So these are the two agenda which needs to be sorted out now. So first one was, let's bring economic stability. That means there will be one side surplus, one side deficit, right? You will always have, even today in the world, you will find one person having more money, one person not having money. Today, the rich, they always so famously call it, right? The rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Same. Right? One, you will always find surplus at one end, deficit at the other. To manage this, there should be a, kind of an organization which should handle this. Which should handle the surplus money and help the ones who don't have. They decided it at the conference that happened it's called the United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference. And the conference happened in 1944, July, note it down. July 1944, and the Bretton Woods. And that's in New Hampshire, USA. New Hampshire, USA. You got it? So now you know what is the agenda of this particular conference, right? To bring the economic stability and ensure full employment. Did it really work? Were they able to achieve? So as a result of it, the famous IMF, as you call it, the International Monetary Fund, which funds all the developing nations now, they are the ones who created this during the Bretton Woods Conference, 1944, July. Right guys, how important it is? I want you to remember this. It's very, very essential. So their agenda is to deal with the surplus money and help the deficit nations. So now you know what is the purpose of IMF, right? So IMF and the World Bank commenced their financial operations from 1947. Right guys, I hope till this you guys are very clear. Okay, amazing. So now, did you know, I'm just throwing some facts. I think it's also a part of your curriculum, right? So there is something called, how is the currency system handled? See, the currency system is always handled by something called International Monetary System. Any national currency, what they would do is, they will attach it to the IMS. And IMS is International Monetary System. So based on that, you will find that the currency of any country is attached to US dollar. See, they will always say 1 rupee or 1 US dollar is equal to so much INR, correct? Indian rupee. That's IMS, in the International Monetary System. Any national currency would be attached to the US dollar, fixed to the US dollar. Clear guys? Okay. So the early post-war years, as you would call it. So what happened after the war? The early post-war years, what exactly happened? Let's see. So that's between, good actually. This is a great period for the world, 1950 and 1970. Okay. World trade, after these institutions were established, they were helping people, the developing nations really started developing. And world trade really, took a surge, shoot up, and they went up by 8%. Incomes were good, steady inflow, slowly started growing 5%. And unemployment rate, would you believe, less than 5% unemployment in most of the industrial countries. Less than 5% unemployment. Is it not? So, just amazing, right? So, that's a very important period, 1950 and 1970. Okay. So, what really promoted this? The industrial nations, you will find that complete use of technology. Okay, and companies, enterprises. So, okay, decolonization and independence. IMF started operations in 1947, something else happened in 1947. Obviously, it is the decolonization of India, and India broke free. Is it not? We got our freedom in 1947. Okay, we were supposed to have got it in 1930s itself, we all know that. But yes, 1947 when we really made it out. So as a result of it, what happened, which is very important. So after the World War II, most of the countries, both the Axis and Allies powers, they could not handle the colonies that we were handling. They decided, because the fight for freedom struggle also really got intensified, and these countries were already weak as a result of war. So what happened? They decided to let go. Okay, so most of the colonies were given back, made free. So over the next 2 decades, you will find that what will happen? Assume that you have a fruit. Just imagine this analogy. You completely juiced it up, and suddenly say, I don't need this fruit anymore, you are free now, and you give the fruit to someone. What will they do with that fruit? Are there resources in the fruit? Nothing. So that's exactly what happened to us also. Suddenly when they let free, after juicing us up, after consuming our resources, you will obviously have poverty, you will have unemployment, what not. And that's exactly happened to us. Right? We started really struggling. We had very less resources, everything had been taken, and we did not have control on our own, society, on economy. Because we were totally stuck by the colonial rules. So then in 1950s, Bretton Woods institution began to provide their attention more towards developing countries. They started funding. So slowly these countries started getting up, but still they were not happy. So they formed a group called the Group of 77. It's called G77. Have you heard of G77 summits and all? G77, it refers to group of, remember this my dear students, it refers to the developing countries, most of the developing countries which did not benefit from the growth of these Western economies between this period 1950 and 60. Okay, G77, they said no, we want a NIEO. NIEO means this is a new international economic order. We don't want Bretton Woods. They are not helping us. We want a new international economic order. Okay, so what happened after this? So you're clear with G77, it's very important you understand that. So in G77, what happened? The countries which did not get help from the Western economy, they started forming a group called G77, the group of 77. Clear? So through this, they said, we want control over our natural resources. So that means they did not have control over the natural resources. They want more assistance, we want more money for our development. And for our materials, still, we want fair prices. Let us handle ourselves, give money alone. This is the fact. Okay. So, as a result of it, Bretton Woods was kept on hold. They didn't move forward. So, end of Bretton Woods and the beginning of globalization. This is the true beginning of globalization, my dear students. Okay. So, after 1960s, is it not? So, 1960s, number one, the rising cost of overseas involvement of US weakened US finances. Naturally, it was weak already, is it not? So, and it was not able to handle itself. The rising cost of the involvement of US in, see, even till today, you will find that US is involved in multiple locations, is it not? And for everywhere, they spend millions and millions of dollars of money. As a result of which, their economy is always shaky. Otherwise, they will be at some other, level. Just because they wanted control over all these powers, the countries, they put in so much money, but they struggle for themselves. And two, so US dollar was no more the dominating currency. Okay. Even now, if you look at it, US dollar, yes, of course, it has its own dominance. You will find Euro has its own dominance, and you will find the British sterling has its own dominance. And but US dollar was no more the world's most dominant currency, principal currency. No. So this led to the collapse of exchange rates. See, there are two kinds of exchange rates. One is fixed exchange rate. The other is called floating exchange rate. Okay. But US dollar was, after the kind of collapse of it, the fixed exchange rate was not possible because US dollar was really weak. So they said when an economy declines, obviously the dollar value has to come down. When economy is very good, yes, it's okay. Let the dollar value go up. So now what are we using? We follow floating exchange rates. Are you guys clear? Every day in the news you will see, right? US dollar increased or US dollar decreased. India's rupee value increased or decreased. What do we mean by that? This is called as a floating exchange rate. Alright? Okay, this is it. So fixed exchange rate is nothing but there will be no movement. It's static. Exchange rates are fixed. Okay? So government will intervene and ensure no movement at all. Even if the economy is down, the rate is fixed. But floating is not like that. Depending on the demand and supply, that is the strength of the economy, the value of a currency will either go up or come down. Clear, guys? Okay. What happened in 1970s? Okay. So international financial system, this dollar, value. Alright. And most of the developing countries did not have money, right? So this forced them to borrow money because of the financial system that was existing. And the countries did not hesitate. They started to borrow a lot of money. So this led to periodic debt crisis in the developing countries, among the developing countries. So developing countries were not able to really stand up to this. They were really struggling. And you will find that as a result of it, people were ready to go for low wages, which all the MNCs, multinational corporations used from other countries, started exploiting. They started moving to countries like India. Till today, what happens? Our country is one of the most underpaid country. You know that? We are underpaid by all means, but we are ready to take it up because we start comparing it. We feel that we are getting good money, but comparatively to the other foreign currency, what we are getting is very, very less. I hope all of you are understanding. So MNCs began to shift production to the low wage Asian countries. They started giving less money, started getting work done. Right guys, so these are things happening after post-war, and slowly in 1950 to 1970s, this is what has happened. Right? Okay. Okay, now again it started. The industrial world was hit by, between 1970 to 1990s, there was again an economic crisis. Unemployment was at its peak. Right? And China was totally cut off from the post-World War economy. Since its revolution in 1949, China was also one economy where people, came in for low wages. We saw in the previous slide, right? This was also one economy. So what was the role of China? Low cost structure of the economy, wages were very, very less, and all MNCs started shifting there. Now you know how slowly China got built. Another major reason why it slowly became kind of a superpower is because of them sticking to a language. They were very particular about their own language, and whenever you learn in your own language also, sometimes you will find that you become very strong. Your level of comprehension will be too deep. Okay? Alright. So now, this is what happened in China as well. Right? China was one country where all the MNCs started focusing on it because it's vast, it had natural resources, low wages. So, the relocation of industry to low wage countries started pushing the trade among countries up, and the capital was flowing, money was started flowing in. So now you will find that last 2 decades, world's economic situation, clearly it got reshaped. India, China and Brazil, Brazil to some extent, but it's a smaller country. They have undergone rapid economic transformation. Now India is very, very strong. Irrespective of what happens within the country, we are very, very strong. It's a big nation. Our democracy is one of the most powerful in the world. Right? Okay, my dear students, this is how the global world got formed. It was so, interesting to see how countries started conspiring, how they made use of the stronger, always kept making use of the weaker. This is the lesson that we learn overall. And when the weaker start rising up, this is what happens. We start becoming superpowers. We are on the way to that. So the making of the global world, my dear students, is over with this. I hope you really liked the video. Thank you so much for watching. Right, and feel free to write in your your comments. And I am going. Okay, my dear students, one very, very important announcement. Probably in the coming week, I'm working on that. We would be coming with Know Your Maps series. Maps are very important for you, and that too with the exam season in mind. I'll try, and I'm just structuring the entire a module for you. We will work this out and come back, and we will be very soon introducing Know Your Map series, and I will be running that. Right guys, hope that makes you happy, and I'm really looking forward to it, guys. Until I meet you in the next one, the video, it's me Sundar Rabindranathan signing off, my dear students. Goodbye.